quite frankly. Every night this has grown. Let's look forward, you know, to tomorrow night, the 5th night. Who knows? What are we going to find then? I really don't know, but yes, it's grown all the time.
Okay, now, our academic, our PhD, our parapsychologist, Dr. Kieran O'Keefe, played out 5 words in ultrasound. We couldn't hear them. There was a suggestion, it was an experiment, that maybe other presences, possibly on a different plane of existence, could. We have now altered those words, exactly as Kieran recorded them, back to a level of sound that we can hear. We're going to play them now. You have to listen carefully at home. If people near your television set, stop them talking. It's going to be absolutely quiet in here. These are the words as broadcast at a level that a human being can hear.
Confirm. Starve. Power. Logo. Zero.
Now, even at that level, it's very hard to make them out. Obviously, when they're transferred into ultrasound, they're high-pitched and perhaps more clear. But even so, that is an absolutely astonishing experiment tonight. For the moment, thank you, Brian. The team, I understand, are now returning to the Winter Gardens here in Morecambe. We're going to unpick tonight's events. We want to hear from you. Keep watching those webcams at Ashton Hall. Keep in touch with us. I urge you, this could be an historic night for Most Haunted Live, and we're back, I can't wait, after this. Welcome back to Most Haunted Live, and what a night. The 4th of an unprecedented 8 nights of paranormal investigation, but we have had an amazing result tonight. No matter how sceptical you are, Kieran O'Keefe programmed into his voice computer at ultrasound levels 5 words, unknown to the team, unknown to almost everybody involved in this production. Kieran and one other person, and those words were word after word after word after word spelt out by the Ouija board. A remarkable night. The team are heading back here now to unpick those results. Meanwhile, plenty of other information flying in. Let's return now to Dr. John Callow and Fred Batt, our demonologist, to find out a bit more about some of the information we've got. We know about the Lawrence family. We've got the name John de Coupland. We've also got Williams or Williamson.
Yeah, that's spot on. In 1884, Lord Ashton, who was at the hall then, his name was James Williamson. So that's spot on. The other bit about the grieving husband, 1788, the wife of the 9th Duke of Hamilton, he loved his wife so much, he wouldn't leave the house, he wouldn't leave the hall, and he kept the gates closed, wouldn't let anybody in or out, until he actually went to his resting place. So that's a very good one as well.
Because we also had at the other end of that spectrum of emotion, somebody was grieving for his wife and idolised her, also that sense of hatred. Now, we started this talking about Ashton Hall, John, and about the fact that there was a local legend, maybe even just a folklore tale about somebody being abandoned. Is there any historical grounding in that story?
To be honest, there's nothing you can put your finger on in the records to say this is the individual. What you do have, though, are the Lancashire traditions about white ladies. For instance, North Meals outside Churchdown, it seems to be a potent local bit of folklore that people believed in. And certainly you've got this whole picture of a female line running through that tower with very, actually quite powerful female figures. John de Coupland, who we heard about, his wife was an important figure after his death. He'd been a soldier, captured the King of Scotland even. So a very significant figure in the northwest of Britain.
And we should say as well, already our 4 audience members who are looking at our in this building CCTV cameras have spotted on one of them in the basement the figure of a woman in white passing by the camera. Thank you very much for the moment, gentlemen. Let's turn now to what you have spotted at home and what's happening on the webcams back at Ashton Hall. Julian Clegg is across it all. Julian.
Thanks very much indeed, Paul. Lots of reaction, of course, to the experiment that's just gone on, and we want to hear more from you about that and Kieran's experiments over the last 4 nights. Keep those messages coming because we're going to use those tomorrow night as well. And also, obviously, if you've got any stories about the Winter Gardens where we are in Morecambe, we want to hear those too. Shall we go around the webcams, all 8 of them at Ashton Hall? Let's start off with webcam 1, the servants' quarters. Zach in Oxford says, I heard a man say, "What are you doing here?" Liam in Birkenhead, I saw a figure standing by the webcam. I get the name Charles. And Amy says, I see a dark figure walking towards the door. That's from earlier this evening. Thank you very much indeed. Webcam 2, which was up earlier too. Luke in Leeds, I heard a banging, and I saw the chair moving, one of those chairs there on that webcam. And Ben in Stockton-on-Tees, I'm very impressed by the phenomenons on the show tonight. I actually saw the chair move on this webcam. Keep hearing screaming as well on that one. Thank you very much indeed. Let's move on to webcam 3. That's the turret on the roof on Peel Tower. Lots of reaction on this one tonight. You can see one of the team there right now. Shona in Rotherham, I've seen a horse lying down on this camera. Interesting. And Kelly from Waterford in Ireland, I can see 2 little girls sitting down in front of the doorway on webcam 3. Webcam 4, the Grey Lady Corridor. This one was up earlier, and lots of reaction on this one, of course, where Yvette was. And a lot of you got in touch during her solo vigil. There's definitely something in the corridor. I keep hearing a man's heavy breathing, says Katrina from Cheltenham. Not a nice man at all. And Pip in Weston-super-Mare, I heard a wailing sound just before Chris came to get Yvette. Then whilst they were calling for Lawrence, I heard a menacing, ghostly breathing sound all over there talking on that webcam. I have to say webcam 4 has been incredibly popular this evening because, of course, Yvette was there on her solo vigil. Let's move on to the 4 webcams that have been up more recently, webcams 5 to 8, and webcam 5 is the corridor in Dormy House. Louise and Estelle from Essex, thank you for your message. A dark mist is hovering and moving in the middle of the doorway. And Karen in Wiltshire, a figure in a long hooded cloak is skulking around at the far end of the room under the archway. And also Paul, Becky, Tony, Sarah and Helen from Rockferry, so they can hear loud footsteps on that webcam as well. Webcam 6, these ones are all live now. We're talking about, of course, the fairway on the ground floor. Josh in Rochdale, a figure of a man and then a woman dressed in white which floated past the left-hand side of the screen. Look out, Carl, I feel a man named James is following you. We've had some other messages like that this evening. Shana from Dublin, also on webcam 6, I heard a voice and it repeated, to get out and go away. Now let's move on to webcam 7, the second turret on the roof on the Peel Tower. Chris from Bristol, I heard a groan and sudden whispers following, as it's happened on 3 occasions this evening. Chris, thank you. And Jan from Port Talbot, there's a figure to the left-hand side as if it's hiding and breathing heavily and rocking backwards and forwards. Moving on to webcam 8, the long corridor outside the dining room. We keep seeing a figure, say Cassie and Shannon from Eltham. It's on the stairs and it keeps moving and the camera keeps shaking. And Emily in Wolverhampton, there's a figure in white behind the banister at the top of the stairs as it's moving in the corner. Emily, thank you very much indeed for that. Keep your messages coming on those 8 webcams and we'll sum up the themes of the evening a little bit later on. Now our competition for tonight, and we're running our competitions right the way through the week with some fantastic prizes, including just for the price of a call of 5 pence, tickets to come to the next Most Haunted Live event. Let's go through the prizes that we're offering tonight. First of all, a DSi Nintendo, the latest handheld console. You can take photos, listen to music, and we're throwing in a brain training game as well. You'll also get a Samsung Jet mobile phone from Virgin Media, very nice, and a pair of tickets for the next Most Haunted Live event. And what's more, everyone who enters all this week goes into the draw to win £1,000. So this really is worth entering. Here's the question: where was the first Most Haunted Live held? Was it A, Pendle Hill, B, Dover Castle, or C, Dudley Castle? Call me now. Here's the number, 0844 646 9966. The calls cost just 5 pence from a BT landline. Mobile and other networks may be considerably higher. Competition is open to UK residents only. You must be over 18 and the lines close at 5 o'clock tomorrow evening. And the winner will be selected at random after the close date and contacted in person. Full details on our website, mosthauntedlive.net. Finally, some thoughts. Stephen Lincoln. Kieran needs to be warned there's a dark spirit following him, and his name is John Lawrence. He also seems to be fond of Chris, but I believe he's guiding him and doesn't mean him any harm. Also, David in Lancashire says there's a man following the team, but mainly Carl. Carl, be careful and be aware. And a final thought from Amanda after Yvette's solo vigil. After the vigil was done, the words, "I'm done with her," could be heard on that webcam. Very interestingly. Paul, back to you.
Thank you, Julian. Fascinating. We're joined now by Chris Robinson, dream detective and clairvoyant, and also a very brave man indeed. He conducted his own mini-vigil in this building, right near the top of the show. He joins us now. Give him a round of applause, please. David Haynes from Leicester. David. We're going to get to Chris in a moment and his predictions I've got in our envelope. But, David, what did you make? What happened to you? What did you make of it in your vigil?
When I first got down there, it was very, very cold. I got halfway through, and there's an area that I was quite apprehensive about halfway through it, got to the other end and we were set up with the video camera, and soon as the lady who came in with me, Helen, the video camera wasn't working, and she was explaining that it hadn't done that in the last sort of like 3 nights. So I don't know whether that was anything to do with what was going on down